What's going on YouTube? So of course, when it comes to electric vehicles, Tesla is the big name in the game, and one of their most important models is of course the Tesla Model 3. This has been out for a few years at this point, and now it's time for a major refresh. This is the 2024 Model 3, kind of known by the code name of Highland. Here it is. So we're going to take a detailed first look at this model. Of course, we used to own a Tesla Model 3, so we're going to see exactly what is new with this refresh. So first of all, this is a refreshed model. So a lot of the elements, in terms of the overall shape are going to stay the same. I don't think that's a terrible thing though, because I always thought that the Model 3 is probably one of the most dynamic looking Teslas in the lineup. It looks a lot sleeker to us than the Model Y, for example. And what Tesla has done for 2024 is made it look even sleeker. So you'll notice really the predominant change up in the front is the lighting. So previously we had these kind of big, bulky looking headlights. They're probably at least this large. Now Tesla's really narrowed that down, made it a real slender looking design that looks real sleek and a little bit more athletic as well. We do have projector LED headlights through there. We have this new DRL that kind of zigzags and runs up the front. And then of course the main part of the grille here, or really the lack of a grille, as you can see, is mostly staying the same. So you just have that kind of body color panel, whichever one you choose. There are some new colors, by the way, that are available for 2024. Now, as far as our wheel options, you do have 18 and 19-inch options. This is the standard wheel option, actually. So this is basically kind of an alloy combination with this aero cover over top of it. Looks pretty nice. I think it's an improvement over the previous model. We used to also have one that had the aero covers, and these look a little bit more dynamic than those used to look. We also have a black accent here, which goes over top of one of your side view cameras. In terms of our mirrors, these aren't changing much in the overall shape. Still have this kind of black bar that protrudes out here, and the mirrors are auto dimming, at least here on the driver's side it appears. I don't know if we have traditional blind spot monitoring, but previously that was just in the display.
Now here at the side, you're going to see that traditional Model 3 shape continue. Now, of course, this is just a refresh. So what that means is most of the body panels are going to be very similar. However, there are some changes in the rear, which we'll talk about in just a second. The one thing I do want to point out before we get back there is that all of your window surrounds are going to be a nice black finish. I really like that. Ours was previously a silver finish, so I think that's a big improvement. I also like the fact that we have black door handles and the blacked out roof. But let's go ahead and check out the rear of this updated Model 3. So here in the rear, you're going to see some pretty substantial changes, not really in the overall shaping of the rear, but in the individual elements. Now, as you can see, we do have just a traditional trunk slope here. I imagine you can also get a spoiler on models like that are the performance version. They haven't quite released information just yet about the Model 3 performance. However, I am noticing, check this out. So this is new for the Highland Model 3. We have Tesla spelled out across the back. Previously, you just had the T right there in the middle. But a lot of people actually in the aftermarket were ripping the T off and just spelling out Tesla across the back. So Tesla, I guess, just kind of saw that and used that for the updated Model 3. Now, the other element that is updated are these taillights. So overall, the shape is pretty similar. However, this middle piece is now gone and kind of more of like a stapler design. And we do have a full LED taillight. This is very premium looking. It kind of looks like a paint stroke. I imagine you also have an LED turn signal indicator. As we drop down to this lower area, all of this is going to be pretty much sealed off in either body color or a matte black plastic. Of course, this is an EV, so it does not have any exhaust outlets. Now, when it comes to safety, Tesla is including all of your safety features as standard equipment that you would expect, including autopilot. And they do continue to offer full self-driving as an option on this model if you want to option that on. I believe it's around $6,000. But guys, there is a lot of updates to show you on the inside, so let's go ahead and check that out. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, so as nice as the upgrades are on the exterior, let's take a look at the interior, because that's where we're promising to see a lot better, build quality, luxury, things like that. Door handles themselves, they are going to be the same as previously, so you just press in there and pop it out electronically. And take a look inside. As you can tell, we're seeing some elements that kind of pass down from the Big Brother Model S into this Model 3. And you're going to notice really a lack of buttons almost completely inside of this cabin. We'll get into that in just a second. But as far as the seats, we continue to have what Tesla calls vegan leather. Obviously, this is going to be pretty nice and smooth. It's not real, but it is that single shape with the headrest kind of integrated in. I like that. And we used to think that these seats were very comfortable, so I anticipate that'll continue. We do have a power adjusting seat, and we do have lumbar support down there at the bottom. But let's go ahead, climb inside. Let's go ahead and take a look around at those materials as I was talking about earlier. So through our door trim here, this is going to be finished in the leatherette. They've finished the center section with a kind of suede material, and then it's going to be a soft touch along the top. Now, as we move to this area, Tesla has definitely made some changes here. So we used to have like the option of basically white trim or a faux wood. Now we have this kind of cloth accent that's running across the top there. I think that looks pretty nice overall. And of course, a big thing is also that it has ambient lighting, which surrounds the cabin. I don't know if you can make this out, but it kind of surrounds up through there, and you can change the colors of that inside of the display itself. Now, as we move to this lower panel, this has a leatherette trim running through here, as well as along the side. I have to say, everything feels a lot more solid than that previous Model 3 that we used to own. I like how everything is feeling overall. Of course, you don't have push button start or anything like that. You just push your foot on the brake. That's what fires up a Tesla Model 3. And after you fire it up, obviously, pretty much everything is inside of the display, right? But I want to start by talking about the steering wheel, because the stalks are gone. So thankfully, we do have the top of the steering wheel. It's not like the Model S where they cut it in half. We still get the top of the steering wheel, thank goodness, but we have those same kind of digital buttons. So your turn signal indicator is actually here for left and right. You adjust your headlights inside of this. The steering wheel itself is adjusted with the display, and all of these other buttons with cruise control and stuff are now integrated inside of this steering wheel. Now let's go ahead and look at interior storage. I will open up our center console. It's kind of magnetized, so that's what actually closes it up. Nice felt lining inside of here, and this curves back there and has a pretty good amount of storage. I think you could fit a reasonable amount of donuts in here. There's our cover for our cup holders. And then check out how much storage we have in here. Wow, this is a really big storage bin. Nicely felt lined again, and these tops feel really high quality. I like this, they seal nicely. Up in front of that, we also have a big suede area, and this is a wireless phone charging pad as well. But now let's go ahead and talk about this big display. We can't avoid it any longer. This is going to be a 15.4-inch display. That is a little bit bigger than what it was previously, and it continues to have really just a ton of functions inside of the display itself. I'm noticing the bezels here are smaller, and we also have kind of like a rounded off glass. So overall, this looks very nice and premium. The graphics on board with these systems are tremendous. Tesla, of course, is really just an expert with software development, and the system continues to be just outrageously fast and responsive. Everything just looks so nice and crisp. Now, you don't have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but this is one of the few vehicles where you don't really miss having those systems because everything does work so nicely. We've got our climate controls built into the bottom here, so you can make your adjustments for your temperature right there. One thing I do want to point out, which is quite important, is the fact that we now have ventilated seats in addition to seat heating. That previously was not something that you could get on the Model 3, and I appreciate it because we might as well go on and look at this. Most of the roof is glass. It continues to be glass. There's no sunshade or anything like that. It's tinted, but the cabin in our experience still gets very, very hot, and you're going to want those seats to cool you down. Now, up top here, we do have a mirror, and you've got your nice LED lighting as well.
Now, before we start talking about the rear, I do want to just point something out. If you look at the glass, you will see that we have the frameless glass from the pre-refresh Model 3, but what you won't have is the dual pane. So as you can see, it's a lot thicker glass, and Tesla says that this is going to allow it to have a lot quieter of a cabin. So, of course, we won't be able to test that out in this video because it is an auto show first look. However, we do look forward to reviewing one of these extensively and driving it on the channel soon, so stay tuned for that. Now, as far as this rear area is concerned, we're going to have the same amount of space as we did previously with the Model 3, which is certainly a decent amount. It's not going to be excessively big, but it's going to be big enough for a compact sedan. I also really like how open it feels with the large panel of glass above your head. Now, let's go ahead and get into the big change though, and that's this center area. So previously we just had vents, but now we have an 8-inch display. So we saw this originally on the Model S, and now it's came down to the Model 3 Highland. So as you can see, we can adjust our climate controls just like through here. This is the really cool feature that Tesla allows you to get the exact zone of where the climate blows just by using the screen, which is very neat. Now, additionally, we have this button, which will allow us to do our heated rear seats as well. So that's certainly a nice feature that is included on this Model 3. And we can also even do stuff like watch Netflix, play video games, YouTube. You know, I think YouTube would be a great idea. Watch some car confections in the back seat. I think that would be really quite cool. And that's really just something you don't see offered on any of this vehicle's rivals. Now, I do want to point out, though, that we do not have a center armrest, or actually we do. Never mind, excuse me. We do have a center armrest. It's just going to be a different setup than it was previously. It's actually the whole seat top, and we have cup holders built inside. So some nice updates here in the back of the Model 3, and we also have ambient lighting as well. And let's go ahead and check out the cargo area. Now, we do have a power trunk, which was an addition that our Model 3 didn't have, but they added that, I believe, a few years ago on as standard equipment on the Model 3. And as far as this trunk area is concerned, we do have a lot of space back here. This has more space than you would expect out of a compact sedan, just because it is electric, and that allows them to package it as such. So as you can see, if you look in here, we have a good amount of space. The seats do fold 60-40 split folding, but if we lift up the floor, you will also notice that we have a lot of underfloor storage as well, which is certainly very nice. And one thing that I am noticing, Tesla said they really improved the build quality and materials, and I can even see that in the carpeting. This carpeting is a lot thicker than it was on our previous Model 3. So really big upgrades in terms of the build quality and level of luxury that you're going to get. All right, and of course, this is an electric vehicle, so we do continue to have the Model 3 front. So if you pop open the front area, there's a pretty decent amount of space in there. When we owned our Model 3, we used it for fast food. It's actually a perfect spot to put fast food, so that will continue for this Highland model. Now, I do also want to talk about the performance of this Model 3 because that is an area that hasn't seen a ton of change for this Highland model. However, they are still offering this in two different versions currently. So you have the long-range all-wheel drive model, which goes 0 to 60 in about 4.2 seconds. And as far as the overall range on that, it's 341 miles by the EPA. So that's a very impressive range figure out of any electric vehicle to have 341 miles of range. Additionally, it goes 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. So that's also a pretty fast 0 to 60. Now, you do also still have the standard rear drive version. That's going to have 272 miles of range, and of course is just going to have the one electric motor, and that goes 0 to 60 a little bit slower. As far as the 0 to 60 on that one, it is going to go 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. Now, do keep in mind you have the performance model that probably will be available coming up shortly, but it's just not on sale right now. Now, I do also want to talk about pricing and availability. So the rear drive model is available right now, as was the long-range all-wheel drive model, and we do have pricing for those two as well. So as far as the prices are concerned, it's $38,990 for the rear drive model or $46,990 for the all-wheel drive model. Now, of course, it does depend largely on U.S. regulation whether this will qualify for the tax rebate. I think currently it is not qualified for the rebate, but that could change here in the future to even lower the price point more on this Model 3. Now, if you guys are interested in the Model 3, we have a ton of content on the channel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And if you're not already a part of our Car Confections family, we would really appreciate you joining in, because by joining in, you're going to get a ton of automotive content, not just on electric cars, but on all types of vehicles. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.